So this is Juniper. She is our new German Shepherd puppy that we just got this week. And with 3 pets now, I thought I'd make a little video showing off how we live in this tiny camper with 2 dogs and a cat. So I'll start with the new puppy, Juniper. She is only about 8 weeks old. She still needs a crate at the moment just because she's still pretty young. She hasn't been trained to be out completely, especially when we're not around. So we have this collapsible dog crate here that has worked pretty well for us. We'll either have it up here on the bed or down here on the floor. We kind of just switch it around depending on what we need more space for. Copper here has been trained pretty well, so he actually doesn't need a crate. Even when we leave for a little bit of time or anything like that, he's good in here by himself. He makes it a lot easier to live in this tiny camper. Our cat Mako mainly just kind of gets to do whatever he wants. He has his little cubby down there that has his litter, and he likes to go in there sometimes when it's maybe too noisy out here or too bright out here. It's a good little place for him to kind of get away when he needs to, but he also likes sitting and looking out the windows, so he tends to do that a lot as well. As far as feeding them goes, we feed all of them twice a day, once in the morning and once towards the evening. We feed them all out here in the main part of the Scamp, and at the moment we also, for the dogs, use most of their food to train them, so we'll kind of hand feed them and go as we're training them. And they get water all throughout the day. We also try to take them out at least once an hour to go to the bathroom or so. Sometimes a little longer depending on if they're taking a nap or not. Copper is a little bit better at holding for the bathroom than the puppy, but I'm sure that'll get better as she gets a little bit older. A big thing we want to make sure is that we constantly are engaged with these guys and get them the exercise and the activity that they need. But Copper being an Australian Shepherd and our new puppy Juniper being a German Shepherd, they definitely need a lot of engagement and activity, and it's nice that since we're in the Scamp, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of room for them to live and move around, but most of the time they are outside. To be honest, we honestly have them probably outside more, and they're able to play outside and be active and engaged more that we live in here than if we just lived at a normal house with like a fenced-in yard. The dogs go on 1 or 2 walks a day depending on the weather and everything, but we definitely try to get them out for a walk at least once a day. We always like to go out and just play fetch with them for about like a half an hour or so, a couple times a day. So they're definitely active, and then we also train them every day. So in total they are definitely well taken care of. And then with Copper, we like to go on hikes with him quite a bit. Obviously with the puppy right now, we can't really take her on a hike because she's still pretty young and she's not quite old enough to go out on those hikes that we want to go on with her. But when she gets old enough to, we are definitely going to be hiking quite a lot. And then for the cat, I've showed this off a few times before, but we have her little cubby space and a little cat door where she can get in and out of the camper, into that little cubby that's under the bed where we have his litter box. It's a nice little space for him if he just wants to be away kind of and be by himself. The nice thing about living in a tiny camper with the pets is that we actively have to be more engaged in their lives. Not that you don't have to if you live in a house or anything, but I feel like you're kind of forced to have to be super engaged in their lives because they're so close to you, and you can't really afford to just like let them outside and forget about them and let them run around in the backyard and the fenced-in yard. You kind of actually have to go out and play with them and everything. And you know, if you don't take care of them, don't get their exercise in, they can be quite a lot to handle in this tiny space. Let's talk about some of the challenges of living with 3 pets in a tiny camper. First things first is the Scamp has kind of like fuzzy walls. So as you can think, there's a lot of hair that gets around. And especially on these walls, it likes to stick on these walls a lot. So as you can probably guess, we do a lot of sweeping and a lot of cleaning up cat and dog hair. It is honestly probably the biggest downside to living in a tiny camper with 3 pets, but it's also nice because it is a tiny camper, so it's actually not too much to clean up. We also made sure we got a pretty nice small sweeper to take with us to be able to sweep these things up. And we can honestly just like sweep the sides of the walls when we need to, as well as we use quite a few lint rollers. But that's honestly probably the biggest downside to living with 3 pets in a tiny camper like the Scamp. And as well, the Scamp's kind of a special case because it does have the fuzzy walls that the hair does stick to. Another challenge with living in a tiny camper with 3 pets is the fact that sometimes the weather's not always the nicest. We are trying to keep in good places that are nice most of the time, so we don't have to take them out in really cold or really wet weather, but sometimes they do have to be inside a little bit. For the most part though, they are pretty good. They do a lot of napping, so it works out well. But sometimes, you know, you gotta take them out even when it's raining, even when it's snowing and stuff. So a lot of that will track in, and specifically for Copper at the moment, when we take him out, you know, if he gets muddy and stuff like that, we can't just put him in the kennel and have him dry off. He has to come in and we have to kind of clean him up so he can go on the bed and everything and not make a complete mess. So that is the other downside to having pets in a camper, especially dogs in a tiny camper like this, is just the weather sometimes. And we kind of designated this top cabinet above our dinette kind of for the pets. At least this right side of it has all of our pet stuff, a lot of the pet treats and little things like that. We keep some of his collars up there when we're not using them. We kind of keep those out of the way, so that cabinet is kind of designated for the pets. And then on the back of the bathroom door, we have a few command hooks that we kind of hang up their leashes on to keep those out of the way. And then as well, we also just have this really nice dog crate that we use, that we got for pretty cheap on Amazon, and it kind of just collapses up into this little folded flat thing, so if we ever want to put it down, it's not too hard to, and we can just kind of have it wherever we want. But it's super nice for the puppy at the moment, but we're hoping to get to the point where we don't need that anymore. But even with all the challenges that it takes to have 3 pets in a tiny camper like this with the 2 of us, I don't think we would change anything. Honestly, we kind of have built these systems so that we can take care of them, and our goal is to give them the best life that we can. And that's kind of how we live in a tiny camper with 3 pets.